The video about Kenneth Copeland's sadness as his own son criticizes him for living a wealthy life and the family fights that have happened. As the head of Kenneth Copeland Ministries and a famous televangelist, Kenneth Copeland has long been a controversial figure in the religious world because of his teachings about the prosperity gospel and his lavish lifestyle. Kenneth Copeland's son recently said some harsh things about how expensive and fancy his life is. This has made people even more interested in how the Copeland family works and how their different points of view might cause problems. This shows how complicated it can be for personal relationships, faith, and the difficulties of being accountable as a public leader to work together. Ken Copeland's huge wealth and the way he has chosen to live are at the heart of these complaints. People often say that his lavish lifestyle, which includes private jets, huge farms, and an opulent way of life that doesn't fit with what Jesus taught, is wrong. When these complaints come from someone outside the company, they can be written off as jealousy or a lack of understanding. When they come from family, though, it's hard to ignore them because they carry a weight of personal understanding and close knowledge. The son of Kenneth Copeland, who has spoken out, has brought up important questions about how his father's actions fit with the Christian values of service, simplicity, and humility. The public criticism from Kenneth Copeland's son could be a sign of bigger problems in the family. Families often have fights and problems, but the public's criticism of Kenneth, because the Copeland family is a famous and powerful Christian dynasty, these arguments are probably getting worse because of the attention of the public. Differing ideas about faith and how it should be used in daily life could be a source of conflict. For decades, Kenneth Copeland's belief in the prosperity gospel, which says that faith, good speech, and giving to religious causes can make you rich, has caused a lot of debate. His son's criticisms point to a possible difference in values, especially when it comes to whether or not getting rich is a good goal for someone who says they serve God. This fight within the group could also be caused by the stress of living under the watchful eye of a well-known religious leader. Growing up in a home based around the prosperity gospel might have meant a lot of close scrutiny, high expectations, and little room for personal freedom for Kenneth Copeland's children. This could make them angry or frustrated, especially if they felt like they had to follow their dad's rules even though they were having trouble with their own views. Criticizing Kenneth Copeland's way of life in public could be an attempt to show freedom or to find a balance between personal beliefs and the values they were taught. These complaints also bring up bigger issues about the role of money in religious leadership and how spiritual leaders should be held responsible. People can see the Copeland family as a clear example of how the prosperity gospel can be seen as using faith for personal gain. The fact that Kenneth Copeland's son is ready to call out his father's behavior shows that people want the ministry to be more open and follow moral standards. People who follow Kenneth Copeland or are part of his ministry might start to wonder if his actions are in line with the basic beliefs of Christianity. Because these complaints are public, they also make people wonder about the future of Kenneth Copeland Ministries and its leadership. Family fights, especially ones that are talked about in public, could hurt the ministry's reputation and unity. People who follow Kenneth Copeland might find it hard to stay united and trusting if his children have different opinions on important things like how to spend ministry funds or the group's overall goal. The ministry might have to face these worries head-on to reassure supporters and keep its reputation from getting worse. Even though there are problems, it's important to think about how the Copeland family could get along and grow. Families go through hard times all the time, and public fights can sometimes lead to deeper conversations and better understanding. Kenneth Copeland and his son could use this time to talk about their problems, think about the values they share, and try to find a solution that fits with their faith and their family bond. And even though they may have different points of view, their shared faith and spirituality could help them heal and move on. First, it's important to understand what the criticisms are about. Concerns have been raised by Kenneth Copeland's son about the big difference between what his father teaches and how he lives in style. Copeland has openly pushed the prosperity gospel, which says that money and success are signs of God's favor and that faith, prayer, and positive confessions can bring about prosperity. So many people find this teaching very troubling because it puts making money at the center of spiritual life, spreading stories about wealth and success that are at odds with Christianity's lessons of humility and sacrifice. Kenneth Copeland's son bringing up the extravagant way his father lives brings up a good point about the moral issues involved in preaching a message of wealth while personally benefiting from it in a big way. I believe that this criticism is both fair and important. It shows how there is often conflict between what people do privately and what they tell others. It is the job of every religious leader, but it's especially important for someone with as much fame as Kenneth Copeland to set a good model. If one preaches a message of faith leading to wealth, it is understandable that followers might expect the person doing the preaching to exhibit a lifestyle that aligns with those teachings. Kenneth Copeland's massive wealth, which which includes multiple private jets and sprawling, sacrificial life that many think is a core tenet of Christianity. The fact that his son has spoken out about this contradiction says that even those closest to Copeland are troubled by the disconnect between his wealth and his teachings. The internal conflict within the Copeland family noted by this criticism is also telling. Family members, especially those who are part of a religious dynasty, are often expected to adhere to a certain set of beliefs and practices. Growing up in such an environment can create an intense pressure to conform, which might lead to internal struggles, especially when personal convictions diverge from family values. For Kenneth Copeland's son, criticizing his father's lifestyle could be a sign of personal disillusionment, or it could represent a deeper philosophical and spiritual disagreement with the direction in which the ministry and the family have gone. The tension between family loyalty and the pursuit of personal values is a familiar theme in many families, but in this case it is amplified by the public nature of the Copeland family's ministry. Furthermore, these public criticisms open the door for potential conflicts within the Copeland family. Family fights over money, values, and who should lead can break up any family, but they can be especially dangerous when the family is at the center of a global ministry. Things are getting even more difficult. What if Kenneth Copeland's son thinks that his father's money is being used in an unfair or unethical way? This could cause more problems between the father and son, and also between family members who have different opinions on the subject. These kinds of conflicts can make relationships worse, make the future of the ministry harder to see, and lead to a climate of mistrust and division. Because of these complaints, it's hard not to think about what these kinds of internal fights might mean for Kenneth Copeland Ministries in the long run. It's possible for the church to become less united if the family can't work out their differences. Supporters who have followed the Copelands for years may begin to question the integrity of the ministry, especially if there are public disputes and divisive statements made within the family. The public airing of such grievances could cause some followers to reevaluate their support for the ministry, leading to a decline in influence and financial backing. However, while these conflicts highlight the ethical and personal challenges faced by the Copeland family, they also provide an opportunity for introspection and growth. It is possible that this criticism, though painful and divisive, might lead to a more honest and open conversation within the family. The son of Kenneth Copeland might be saying that he wants more openness and accountability in the family and in the church as a whole. If these problems are dealt with in a constructive way, they might cause the ministry to rethink its direction and make a stronger pledge to acting in line with their faith. It could even be a reminder that everyone can be blamed for something and that spiritual leaders must be ready to face the hard facts about their actions, just like everyone else. Finally, Kenneth Copeland's son's complaints about his dad's fancy lifestyle and the possible inner conflicts that may come from them are interesting to think about because they show how complicated family relationships, personal beliefs, and public leadership can be. While the issues at hand are deeply personal, they also reflect larger questions about the nature of faith, wealth, and responsibility in religious leadership. As the Copeland family navigates these challenges, they will have the chance to either strengthen their bonds and commitment to their faith or face the possible unraveling of both family relationships and ministry integrity. Regardless of the outcome, it is clear that the criticism serves as a catalyst for deeper reflection on the intersection of spirituality and materialism. Please let me know what you think. We'll see you next time.